Got some good news and some bad news. I think, according to society and the people I interact with, I seem to be very passable. And at this point, I don't know how many people at my work know I am transgender. The truth is, with that, plus being in lockdown with COVID going on, I've kind of lost a backbone. Welcome back, everyone, to DIMITRIA SPARROW, aiding you in the journey to freedom and femininity. This is something that has to deal with passing and aesthetic. I am 3 years into my transition and I've been on HRT. My voice is very different. I used to sound a little more like this. My hair was a lot shorter. I was actually quite a bigger guy. I was nearly 200 pounds at the start of my transition. And for one thing, I have changed my name and sex legally. It seems, because I'm always working to better myself and pass better, the misgendering has gone down a lot. And at this point, I don't know how many people at my work really know I am transgender, or the people I meet at a store. It seems I'm passable to a degree. When you're trans, especially when you have to be in public all the time for, say, a job, you kind of develop a spine. You develop a thicker skin. The more passable you are to society, the less transphobia you actually have to deal with. And when you deal with less and less and less transphobia, when someone actually is transphobic and someone actually notices that you're trans, it is far bigger a deal than it used to be, because you had to deal with it all the time. It's like, okay, someone was transphobic. It's like, all right, whatever. Oh God, all right, whatever, just move along. And so you were basically developing a really thick skin. You were building that muscle. And then all of a sudden you've made enough changes in your aesthetic, with a medical transition to a degree. A lot of transphobia doesn't really happen a lot. You don't really feel like you have to always defend yourself. You don't have to be on guard all the time. You feel way more comfortable around people, and it seems that you get accepted. That muscle you've been building is depleted. The times I started to become passable was during COVID, because I do distinctly remember before that I was still pretty clockable, it seemed, to a lot of people. But it seems throughout the pandemic, throughout this entire thing, that's when I started to become a little more passable, when you're not interacting with people, and when you become a little more passable to the people you do interact with. When I eventually hopped onto this new job, and not many people tend to bug you. I got no muscle anymore. It's because the world has told me you don't need that muscle anymore. The transphobia you experience is a lot more severe in your first year. So in my case, I worked in retail in my first year and a half. To put it in context, my voice was lower. My body proportions were not quite the same. And for one thing, I didn't know how to do makeup as well as I did. You're very clockable. In your first year, people know you're trans and they let you know. Transphobia and basically discomfort from people is very evident on their faces. People have absolutely no problem staring at you. Just keep that in mind. People have no problem looking at you, looking you up and down to see that your crotch is aligning with what their brain is supposed to be telling them. But this is something you have to expect. Things are better than ever for transgender people. There was a lot of stuff I had to deal with working in retail in my first 1.5 years of transitioning. And you deal with it on a daily basis. Since you deal with it all the time, you start to get a little numb to it. You almost expect people to talk to you a certain way, or to look at you a certain way, or to suggest something that's a little derogatory. Eventually, you basically just get a thick skin because you're used to interacting with people and you're kind of used to not expecting a lot from others. You're kind of on guard all the time. You're very conscious about how you look and how you sound. Sometimes you can hear people snickering at you in the background. I've heard this thing, and I knew it was going to be a thing, called like passing sort of privilege. The thing is, I don't want to be full of myself here because I don't know if I'm really that passable. At my current work, I didn't have to come out to my work, so they knew me as Dimitria. And the truth is, everyone is very amiable. They're very, very sweet, very, very nice. This is gonna sound kind of sort of bad faith. A few people know they're very cool with it. The thing is, you just don't know how people may respond to you or talk to you if they knew you were transgender. Transphobia knows no gender. It doesn't know an age. It doesn't know an ethnicity. It could be anybody. I don't feel like having to tell people because I don't want to have to deal with that again. I want to keep it secret because I don't want to have to deal with problems that I don't have to deal with. Now that I'm sort of on the other side, where at my work, I'm immediately called she. On my first day, that's what I was called. Whenever I enter a building, when I'm getting my blood test done or I'm at Walmart, talking to somebody, I get referred to as she. It happened once, rarely. It caught me off guard because usually you get into like a sort of method of, okay, when someone misgenders you, here's what I would do. And you sort of respond to it or you correct them in some sort of way that best fits you and your personality. When it happened that one time, I sort of froze. I was like, oh, that happened again. And I didn't really know how to interpret it. I was like, okay, do I correct them or do I just let it slide? Like, how does this work again? And this is what happens with passing. It's almost like you just don't know how to react when people misgender you anymore. It's almost like the goal is to be on the other side, the passing side. And the thought of being found out, the thought of going back to that one side is scary. I think my biggest fear is that someone may say something to one of the supervisors and then it'll be a big drama. That's sort of where you feel like you belong, where people feel amiable and it feels like everything's fine. It's almost like that could all of a sudden be taken away from you. When you start passing, people start to not know that you're trans. And now the goal is to hide that you're trans, because when you're not passable and when you're earlier in a transition, people immediately see you and they know you're trans. They've already made their mind up on you, whatever that opinion is. When you're passable, they might 180 on you, treat you entirely different based on the fact that they know you were originally a man. On top of that, with COVID, a lot of trans people are probably going to lose their backbone. They're going to lose their thicker skin because we haven't interacted people. We've lost that muscle. And this is honestly why trans girls are so big on their aesthetic. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to make the channel to begin with, because I know the anguish it is to want to look how you feel inside and be good at it. Passing shouldn't matter, but the truth is it does matter to a lot of people, and it saves you from a lot of social and mental anguish. I wanted to address this because it kind of leads into the idea of why I made this channel in the first place. I think I need to build up my spine once more. If you are early in your transition, you're getting misgendered left and right, there's transphobia left and right, trust me, I've been there. And yeah, in a lot of ways I continue to be there. But just be prepared for when things open up that you are ready to take what the world gives you. Just be confident in yourself. Just rock whatever you want to rock. And honestly, I'd say just be prepared for anything. And I'd say don't be naive. There it is. I wanted to address that. Share your experiences down below. I'm not a big YouTuber, so I will surely listen to you and respond. Stay beautiful, everyone. Take care.